This is the podcast for Multi-Faith Matters, and I'm the host, John Moorhead, and today I'm privileged to have as my guest Lucian Greaves, and he's of the Satanic Temple, and I have a very brief bio for you, Lucian. If you want to expand upon it, please do. Lucian Greaves is the co-founder and spokesperson for the Satanic Temple. Anything you want to add to that? It seems pretty meager.
You know, I like it meager. I think as kind of with our kind of anti-authoritarian philosophy, there's kind of this balance to be struck by being like a public face for the organization, but not allowing myself to kind of become the story. And I try to manage that the best I can by leaving my biographical details sparse.
Okay, I appreciate that. Just wanted to make sure and give you an opportunity. The reason I was on Lucian's podcast a few days ago at his invitation, where I had a chance to speak to his audience about what a Christian and evangelical is trying to be self-critical about religious freedom and understanding other religious traditions as they seek to exercise their freedom in the public square. And it looks from the Twitter feed like that was largely positively received in your audience.
Yeah, it's nice to see. A lot of people are very amenable to that kind of dialogue, and it's really heartening to see that. It's also interesting to see the difference between different platforms too. Twitter, for as much as it's accused of generating these angry mobs, had a much more positive. I don't think I saw anything negative on Twitter. One was unclear to me. I couldn't understand what they were saying. I saw you engaged with it a little bit, and I thought, I don't know what.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure either, so I thought I would just kind of acknowledge and probe a little bit. And even with her response afterwards, I still wasn't quite sure, but that's all right.
I was even more confused then, but then you look at Facebook, and Facebook really, really leans into the negativity. I always see a much more negative response to anything on Facebook. It doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
You know? I posted a track. You know, I work with a band, and we released an album last year, which is the least controversial thing I think I've ever done. And then when we came out with a video, we posted that, and I was amazed to see that I was getting hate mail over putting out a song even. So, you know,
Now, is this from TST members or just people who happen to come across it, or?
I don't know. I don't really know, but there's something to be said for the idea of the different platforms and the way they run their algorithms and things like that, really emphasizing the negative over the positive. But that said, I think our conversation.
All praises and glory to Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai. Ba'Hasham Ha-Rakah Kodash, double honors unto our apostles and elders which rule great millstone wall, and shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. May you endure unto the end. Shalom wa abba babal. So this just came out. Western Colorado is home to the state's first ever after-school Satan Club. All right, which the founder is called Lucian Greaves. He's the man to the left of the screen. All right. And he's pretty much putting together a satanic club for kids for after school. And there's many points here. One, this shows you that the devil is the so-called white man.
Certainly the positive, you know.
All right. And the so-called white man is the red devil, and he is greatly despised. What I just played in that little clip, he pretty much showed that him trying to show what he really believes, he gets hatred on a lot of platforms, because the wicked, they're actually greatly despised. All right, going to Obadiah. It's only one chapter, verse 1. The vision of Obadiah. Thus saith the supreme power Yahweh concerning Edom. Edom is the so-called white race, which calls themselves white, but they are actually red. We have heard a rumor from Yahweh, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, let us rise up against her in battle. Alright, so you got the prophets, and then you got rumors of war. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen, thou art greatly despised. The so-called white race is the smallest. They're actually the minority, and they are greatly despised. If they actually show their true colors, the world would reject them. Okay, but they act like they're an angel of light. Okay, and they act like they're here to be your savior, which they deceive the world. Okay, and in fact, they are devils. All right, the so-called white man is the red devil the Bible speaks of, which he weakens the nations through his corruption, through his wickedness. All right, it says, the pride of thine heart have deceived thee, thou that dwelleth in the cliffs of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? And that's the pride of the so-called white American. All right, who will bring us down? And that's another part I wanted to point out on that verse too. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. You got to remember, America is actually one of the newest countries in the world, which July 4th, 1776 is what they say is considered the birthday of America. Okay, so America is a very young nation compared to other nations. All right, it says in verse 3, the pride of thine heart have deceived thee, thou that dwelleth in the cliffs of the rock, which they're the cavemen, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Which they're proud. All right, the so-called white Caucasian of America. Okay, they're very proud, thinking that no one could destroy America, and they live high on the hog. Okay, it says, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, the great sailor of America, which all the Edomite countries like Spain, France, Britain, Greece, Rome, Germany, all right, they all use the eagle as a symbol of themselves. It says, and thou shalt set thy nest among the stars, which they got a space force. America does. Thence will I bring thee down, saith Yahweh. So Yahweh is going to bring this terrible nation of pedophiles, of homosexuals, of wickedness down, right? The so-called white man and his kingdom, America, is going down. In fact, Yahweh Shai himself prophesied that he saw lightning fall Lucifer fall like lightning, which Lucifer represents the elite, the so-called white race, your Illuminati. All right, Lucifer is just another name for light. That's why that man that's actually bringing forth this Satan Club is named Lucian Greaves. When you look up that name, Lucian Greaves, Lucian. Let me see if I got highlighted.
Light. The masculine name of Lucian stems from the Latin word for light. When parents look at their baby, they may think they are the light of their lives. This name has shin.
See? A greave. A piece of armor used to protect the shin. Why? Because Esau's kicking against the pricks. Alright? And this is when Yahweh Shai showed himself to Apostle Paul. Okay? And Esau is actually doing what Apostle Paul was doing. It says in Acts 9 verse 4, and he fell on the earth and heard a voice saying unto him, Saul, Saul. So Apostle Paul's name was Saul before it was Paul. Why persecutest thou me? And it's in red letter because it's the Messiah, Yahweh Shai, speaking. And he's telling Apostle Paul, why are you persecuting me? Because he was persecuting Yahweh Shai's apostles. And he said, who art thou, Lord? And the Lord said, I am Yahweh Shai, whom thou persecutest. It is hard for thee to kick against the pricks. See, and that's what they're doing with this. They're attacking the Israelites, the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American Indian. Alright, which is in slavery scattered throughout the world. The after-school Satan Club is for you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, which your parents are struggling the hardest to survive in this wicked society. So you're going to be the ones left to the after-school program of Satan. I could try to open it, but it wouldn't let me open it. But right here, it's on After School Alliance, afterschoolalliance.org. It says, America after 3 p.m. for black families and communities. Black and Latinx parents are more likely than white parents to connect the supports after school programs. Alright? Why? Because they're going to be working 2 jobs to try to pay the bills. We're in slavery subject to payment. That's why the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American Indian is going to struggle more than a so-called white man. Because we're under the curses because we sinned against our power. Our power is Yahweh, our Heavenly Father, which gave us His Word, which the Holy Scriptures are the Word of Yahweh, which the Word of Yahweh speaks of Yahweh Shai, the Messiah, the true Messiah, as it is written, which He's not a so-called white man, He's actually a so-called black man. Alright? And this shows that the after-school programs that the so-called white man, the Red Devils, putting forth, Satan clubs, is against you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, which are going to be left in those after-school programs because your parents are either not there or they're working. You see? And the so-called white man, the wicked that control the world, he has it set up like this on purpose so that he could weaken the nations with his wickedness. Alright? That's why they call themselves Lucifer or Luciferian. Alright? Because their light is the light that blinds you. It's darkness. See? 2 Corinthians 11 verse 14, King James Version. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. There you go. See? Satan, the so-called white man, has transformed himself into an angel of light. Okay? And he's deceiving the world. Alright? And he has a perpetual hate for the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American Indian, which are the biblical Hebrew Israelites. It says in Obadiah verse 3, the pride of thine heart had deceived thee. So he's been fucking this up for so long, he don't think he'll ever have to pay. Or no one will ever come to save us. Alright? But that has deceived him. He's drunk on his pride. Thou that dwelleth in the cliffs of the rock, you Caucasians, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith Yahweh. And why is he going to bring you down? Because he knows your plans to slaughter his people. Wisdom of Solomon, not Wisdom of Solomon, 2nd Ezra 15, but Wisdom of Solomon also chapter 2. But I'm going for 2nd Ezra 15 and verse 10. It says, "Behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt." And this is modern day Egypt. Egypt is a Greek term put upon Mizraim. And Mizraim were the original Hamites that were in Egypt. And then the Greeks eventually got into there after the Medes and the Persians. And you had the Assyrians, then the Medes and the Persians. And then the Greeks, which you had Ptolemy, set himself up as Pharaoh. And you had the word Egypt put upon that land. But in fact, the spiritual Egypt today, the modern day spiritual Egypt, is America. Alright? It says, "But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm and smite Egypt." So he's going to destroy Egypt, America, with plagues as before. See, it's not talking about ancient Egypt. He just referenced ancient Egypt. He said, as before, just like he put the plagues upon ancient Egypt because they were a bunch of weirdos and homosexual witches and warlocks. All right. He put those plagues upon them and then eventually killed their firstborn and then brought the Israelites out from under them. And then the Israelites were given the go-ahead and cleared out all Canaan, putting those Hamites to death in the ancient world. Today, the so-called white man is those Canaanites, those Chaldeans, those Hamites, those Egyptians are represented today by the so-called white man, the red devil, which they even do the same seance that they do back in Egypt when they used to believe they got their pharaoh possessed by demons. That's why they thought he was a god. Well, that's what they do in the inauguration of America. That's why it's not a coincidence that you have obelisk in your capitals, because that's a sign of where they got their ideology. America, all right, is the spiritual modern day Egypt. All right, and the Lord is going to plague this place just as he done to ancient Egypt. And one of the first plagues he brought upon Egypt was Moses and Aaron, the prophets that Yahweh sent forth to prophesy the salvation of the Israelites who were being oppressed by the Egyptians. Well, that's what you have today. You have the prophets on the streets, starting with the apostles and elders, which rule Great Millstone Wow, and the brothers that follow and preach the same as Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai. All right? In the same spirit, in the spirit of prophecy. So now the plagues are coming upon this place. This place is being plagued. There's many plagues already happening, but it's only going to increase till eventually America doesn't even exist no more. It's going to be wiped off the face of the earth. All right? It says that. It says, verse 9, Obadiah verse 9, "O thy mighty men, O T-men," which T-men are the Germans of Esau, the so-called white race. Those are the Germans, and they're into witchcraft. When you go into the small mustache German, which he was really a Rothschild, all right, and he caused World War II to be concentrated over there in Europe, he was actually searching out different methods of witchcraft, all right, and that's what made them actually as wise as they were, through witchcraft on the left-hand side of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. And they would take drugs like methamphetamines and do satanic rituals to try to summon powers from a different dimension. It says, "To the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter." So all the witches of Esau, which is every one of them, all right, the whole entire race of the so-called white men, are going to be cut off by slaughter. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee. And that's why it's a shameful thing to be a so-called white man today. I actually saw a video like that.
Yeah, it's okay. Right. Is that all? So, why do you hate whiteness? I hate white supremacy and white supremacy.
See? So that shame of being the so-called white man is upon them, just as it's been prophesied in Obadiah verse 10. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. Alright? And Jacob is the Israelite, the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American Indian. That's why they have shame on them. Obadiah verse 15, for the day of Yahweh is near upon all the heathen. So not just the so-called white man, but it starts with the so-called white man. But all the heathen are going to go into destruction and into slavery. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee, and you're going to receive your reward in slavery under the Israelites, which you and your whole entire race, all you heathen, will be under us for 1,000 years of brutal slavery. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head. So then you're going to get paybacks for what you've done to us in the past. It says in verse 17, but upon Mount Zion, starting with the elect men of the nation of Israel, that are prophesying of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai, and crying, sighing and crying of the abominations committed in the midst of Jerusalem, shall be deliverance. They shall eat the fruit of their lips. And there shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. Which we're going to eventually have these heathen in slavery. That's how the earth is going to be eventually in peace. Is we're going to pretty much re-educate them by violence into the knowledge of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai. See, if you don't know it by the Holy Spirit, you have to learn this by pain. And that's what the heathen are about to go into. A re-education, and they're not going to be taught wickedness, they're going to be taught righteousness. They've been taught wickedness under the so-called white man, the red devil. What do you think they're going to be teaching in this after-school program by the so-called white man, which worships Satan? You think they're going to teach them righteousness? No, of course not. They're the wicked. They're teaching wickedness. Alright? So the Lord's got to remove the so-called white man and put him in slavery under the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American Indian, under the Israelites, as well as the other nations have to be enslaved under the Israelites. And that's what time we're in. We're in the time of all the heathen going into slavery under the Israelites after America is destroyed by 200 million nuclear missiles sweep America off the face of the earth, and the biggest, gayest city, which is Tel Aviv in the land of Israel, be cleaned off there, right, with fire, chariot fire, when they got all the mountain of troops, the troops of the world gathered together in the valley of Jehoshaphat. The Lord's going to purify that land with fire, destroy all the wicked that are over there, the counterfeits, the imposters. All right? The Lord has a great judgment coming to this earth, and them that are wicked and them that do wickedly are going to be punished. They're going to get the reward for their doings. But also at the same time, salvation is going to be given, mercy is going to be given to the hopeful elect. All praises and glory to Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai Bahasham Ha Rakah Kudash. Double honors to our apostles and elders which rule great millstone well. And shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. May you endure into the end. Shalom. Wa abababam.